Welcome back, guys, on another rally bike build. Today I have the Husqvarna 701 long range model, and this is a bike we built for Africa Eco Race. The choice was the LR instead of the 701 standard because of the fuel tank. I know this is not the best looking fuel tank, but of all the fuel tanks on the market, we think this was the most reliable, and we wanted to build a bike that could get to the end of Africa race with no issues at all. So we went for the LR version. But now let me start explaining to you all the accessories we placed on this build. If you're wondering why I have two 701 LR versions and you're wondering if I will do a video on both bikes, absolutely, because these are two similar builds from an aesthetic and exterior point of view, but pretty different, because this is a bike that's gonna be raced in rallies. That is a bike destined for adventure riding, which means we have two luggages on the rear, but also on the tower we have smart devices such as GPS and tablet, because we will use that bike with the tablet. And for this reason, subscribe to the channel to stay updated when I'll finish also that other build and make another video. Let's start looking at the navigation setup we placed on the 701 for rally racing. We have a MIGTEC roadbook holder. If you didn't watch it, I made a specific video on this roadbook holder. I'll link it somewhere here in the video. I almost forgot, there are a few details I need to let you know about this rally kit. Is the fact that you see all these small holes. We can adjust the instruments bracket up and down on the tower, but also we can tilt it. In this way, any type of hand guards we have, we will be able to adjust and place our roadbook in the correct position. But also the headlight can be adjusted, so it can tilt a bit in order that you place the lights in the position you want. And as many of you ask me, does the Baja Squadron light fit? Yes, it can be fitted on this kit, but you need a special bracket made by Rebel Exports to replace one of the two Hella lights. Then we have an RNS Tripmaster, and we have an empty space here because we will then place a speedo cap. This is all wired, and we can control it from the RNS thumb switch, where we can change the screen of the Tripmaster, adjust it back and forwards, and we can control the roadbook holder, move it back and forward. On the handlebar instead, for now, we placed a Garmin Zumo XT GPS, because for the rally in which Mike will take part, he can use also a GPS. Or also, if, for example, you're taking part in Transitalia Marathon or the Rally Legend in Sardinia, you can use both. We moved the OEM dashboard and indicators always on the tower. Here they are in a much more visible position and easy to access. But most of all, when we turn the handlebars, the wires will stay all in one place on the tower and stay fixed, so we won't have to worry about the cables moving and touching on the tower. On this particular build, since we prepared it for such an important rally, less means always less things to worry about. For this reason, we have these LED switches that usually we connect so that we can power on and off, but for Africa Race we wanted less wires as possible, so that if anything breaks, it will be much easier and quicker to intervene on the bike. For this reason, all the instruments, they automatically turn on when the bike is turned on. This same thing goes for the voltmeter display. The voltmeter display is fundamental in rally racing because it lets you know if you're running and draining your battery, and we know what power output we are having all the time. But also we have two quick charge USB ports. I find these to be very useful because even if we are rally racing, if something happens and we need to call a mechanic or someone to help us figure something out on the bike, we might run out of battery on our smartphone. In this way, we will be able to charge it and, just use it for charging any other device if for example, we are using the Garmin or any other GPS device for an amateur event, we don't need to wire it, we can just connect it to the USB port. Looking always from the rider's point of view, on the handlebar we changed a few things. First of all, the OEM turn indicator and light switch that is pretty bulky on the 701, we replaced it with the Enduro one. I'll link all the products you see here in the video, I'll link them down in the description if you're interested in ordering them or just curious to know more about them. We changed this so that we have more space on the handlebar, because having to put the thumb switch for the instruments, we needed more space. But also on this build, we have this other switch, which is to select the front or rear tank. This is really cool because it means we have two fuel pumps. If we have a fault or something goes wrong with, let's say, the rear tank fuel pump, we can select the front and we'll get to the end of the rally just using the fuel in the front. But I also left a hose coming out with a tap on the side of the bike, so that if for any reason we need to pour fuel out, we'll be able to pour fuel out of the rear tank. Many times I get asked by friends and people about how I wire the trip master, because on the 701 and 690 we have the ABS wire going into the wheel and we need to add a magnet to the brake disc, which we added. But also, where do we place the sensor cable of the trip master? Usually the easiest way to wire the sensor cable would be to use some bracket like this, drill 2 holes and put it here. But this means that the sensor cable is very exposed, and these sensor cables inside, they have tiny wires that easily break. For this reason, I didn't want to use this solution, even though it was easier and quicker to install. I drilled a hole in the brake caliper support, and then I thread it so that I could place the sensor cable nicely back here where it's protected, and any rocks or any impact we have here on the front low part of the bike, it will never end up touching the sensor cable. This means more reliability. Mounted on the Rebel X Sports plug and play nav tower, we have the street legal windshield, the official factory Husqvarna and KTM rally replica windshield. This is the windshield used at Dakar Rally and provides an extraordinary aerodynamic, a much better protection to the rider when riding, but also it gives you the chance to pump up slightly your top speed because of the airflow you have on the bike. About of 1 or 2 kilometers an hour, you'll be faster with this windshield rather than the standard headlight. We have a street legal homologated headlight with position light, high beam and low beam by Hella. The lights are completely plug and play. We have a wire that just plugs in the OEM connector. One really cool feature of the rally kit for the Husqvarna 701 and KTM 690 is that Rebel X Sports provides a wire that plugs in the ACC2 or ACC1 plugs that you have behind your headlight. In this way, we will have power all on the tower, and through the fuse box we will wire all our devices. This means we won't have to put any wire going into the battery, so no fiddling with the battery, we just work here on the front. Behind the windshield and very protected, we have the turn indicators. We like to place them behind the windshield because in case of crash they won't get damaged and they won't fall off. Also, we have the super useful and compulsory bracket for the Erie track. In this case now, since this bike will be used first for some other rallies before heading to Africa race, at the moment we place the medical kit, but when it will be time for Africa race, the Erie track will be placed here behind the headlight. The Erie track is a safety instrument that is used in all World Championship rallies and in Dakar and Africa race. It's a device that helps us be tracked by the organization, and keeps us in direct contact with the organization. Alternatively, if you don't need a medical kit nor the Erie track, this bracket can be used to put a tool bag with some tools in case we don't want them on us. But after I'll show you a very cool feature that I suggest all the Husqvarna 701 LR version owners will do, because it's a very useful upgrade. The windshield is super easy to remove in case we need to access any of the wiring, as it's held in place with the two Desus quick fasteners and side panels that connect to the tank. This means that in a matter of seconds we'll be able to remove it completely. On the side of the tower, as always, we have the 6-way fuse box with LED error indicator. This provides us 6 power outlets. We can remove the plastic cover, and in case we break a fuse, we will have an LED red indicator that will tell us, and we will manage to quickly remove the fuse that's broken and replace it and continue with our race. This feature might not be so fundamental for adventure riders, even though it's very useful, but it's fundamental when you're rally racing, because any time you manage to save is crucial, and this saves really a lot of time. But also for the adventure riders, it won't have to remove anything to understand what the issue is in case you have one. On this build, there is a feature of which I'm really proud, and that will solve the problems of any 701 LR owner to clean the air filter. To clean the air filter on the OEM 701 LR, you need to remove the whole tank, which is almost impossible to do if you're in a rush, and just is something you don't want to do and disconnect lots of hoses and wires. For this reason, under the seat, Mike already owned a Raid Garage underseat tank. Clearly, the underseat tank doesn't fit with the LR version fuel tank, so I adapted and I made a cut here so that this could be used as another tool bag compartment, and also this meant that we could move the air filter, have it in a comfortable place where it's easy to change, because in rallies you'll have to change it every day and sometimes even halfway through the day. So we have the twin air filter, easy to remove, the tool bag compartment where now we have plenty of space. I can put my wallet, I can put baby wipes in case, my friends that I overtake then start crying, or, they need something because they're a bit scared of how fast I'm going or how fast Mike is going. And then another medical kit, because with 2 medical kits, I can just go and make a war and medicate every person I harm. This tank setup provides us 25 liters of fuel capacity that translates in over 400 kilometers of fuel autonomy. This means enough for Africa race. Definitely the front tank is not the prettiest and has been heavily criticized on the web, but I can say it's really well engineered. Of all the tanks I've seen for the 701, this is definitely the best. First of all, for the construction material, it's in the same plastic as the subframe fuel tank, so very resistant. In case of crash, I believe this will be a reliable solution. Furthermore, we have a plastic protector. These shrouds protect the tank, but most of all, the engineering of the whole hoses and clamps to make all the hoses go around, the quick release connectors, and the dual fuel pump make it really a must buy for anyone that plans on doing a rally that requires a bigger fuel autonomy than what you can get with the 13-liter OEM tank. I know that this tank looks like 2 huge saggy tits, but it's also, I think, a visual effect, because you can see that the seat is different from the OEM seat on the 701. It's cut in this section, which means that even if the appearance is that we have our legs wider, it's not really the case, because on the standard 701 we would have the seat move and get all the way forward. So when you're sitting down, you feel the bike almost as wide as the standard 701. It is true, and I must say that when you're sticking out your leg, then it gets wider, and this can be annoying, so just ride standing up. But all in all, I'm very happy with this tank also because the weight distribution is pretty low and it keeps the bike easy to handle and doesn't feel like we are riding with 25 liters. The seat cover we changed. We placed the usual Selle dalla Valle factory rally seat cover. This is a quick dry leather. If we ride in wet conditions, this will dry really quickly, but it has the same feeling and same comfort as Alcantara. We always have the camels. Underneath the camels we have a memory foam, which makes it much more comfortable for the long liaisons if we sit back here. And moving towards the rear of the bike, we changed the filler cap. We put a CNC machine filler cap. This makes it easy for us to refuel. We will do this upgrade also on the front because we still have the OEM LR filler, which requires a key, but we will remove this, but the product is still not ready, so we'll do this in a second moment. Lastly, we changed the exhaust. The slip-on exhaust is from a Krapovic. This gives better feeling to the bike when we are accelerating and a much nicer sound. A really crucial upgrade we did, we put this Rally Raid sprocket guard. We removed the OEM plastic one as this bike will go and race Africa race, which means it could find a lot of mud and different conditions. Having a sprocket guard like this lets all the dirt come out compared to the plastic one that covers all the sprocket and where a lot of dirt can get blocked inside. Obviously, the other thing we had to change was the foot pegs. We replaced the OEM foot pegs with the Rally Replica foot pegs. This means we have a larger footprint, and especially on the other side where the clutch cover on the 701 is pretty big, we won't have our feet slip off like on the standard foot pegs. Looking at the lower part of the bike, we changed clearly the bash plate. We put an aluminum bash plate that gives a better protection and protects also here the rear fuel line because it gets all the way back here. But most of all, we have a water tank, a plastic water tank. This is compulsory in many international rallies where you need to carry on your bike a certain amount of water. Regulations have been changed on certain rallies, so it's not compulsory for all the rallies, just for some. We have on this tank the possibility to remove the water just here with a tap and either place a hose or just make it fall out. This is very useful in my opinion, because if you're using this bike for adventure riding, you can potentially use this plastic tank to bring extra fuel with you. Not that you need it on the LR version, but let's say you want to bring a couple liters more for your friends that remain without fuel, you'll save them thanks to this plastic tank inside the bash plate. Another very important detail is the fact that the cap on the plastic tank is an Acerbis cap, which is the same that we have on the rear filler cap and that we will place here on the front. So if we lose one of the fuel tank caps, we'll have an extra one down here so that we don't have fuel pouring everywhere. We've got to the end of the video, but also we got to the moment where I'm handing over Mike, who came all the way from Switzerland to pick up his bike. And let's see if Mike is happy with the build and satisfied. If not, I think we'll end up in a fight.
No, we're not going to end up in a fight. First of all, I would like to thank Manuel because he has done an awesomely nice job. I met Manuel about a year and a half ago, and within a minute and a half, he did convince me. He didn't have to convince me. That was the point. I was just looking, and with 2 or 3 phrases he mentioned, he made clear that he understood his business. And for me, the most important is he comes from a zero budget Dakar racer. That means it's not like, oh, I have a wallet and I have 150,000 euros to spend, let's race the Dakar. No, he went with $150 in his pocket to race the fucking Dakar. Yeah. Excuse me the bad language, but that's the point which convinced me. So he made it all the way to the end, and with zero material, with zero money, with nothing. And that's the point. So whatever he suggested to me, he was like, no, you don't need that. That's gonna break and it's gonna cause you a problem. But I thought, no, wrong. So he never sold me anything. He never sold me. I had to convince him, oh, put that on the bike. No, that's the difference. It's not like, oh, you need that, you need that, you need that. No, it was like, no, you don't need that. No, you don't need that. Is it good from his point of business? Well, he's still alive, so it must work. But in the end, I really have to say, thanks, my friend. It was an awesomely good job. And it's sexy. Come on. It's fucking sexy. Thanks, Manuel.
Yeah.
It's been really awesome.
Thank you guys for watching. I'm really happy on this build. Subscribe to the channel and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.